What's going on, guys? It's Jeremy, and today we're going to be talking about types of medical classes that you could and should take as a civilian. So, as a disclaimer, guys, I will not be recommending any groups, companies, or instructors for medical classes, specifically just because I do not have a ton of experience taking the civilian-sided training courses. All of my experience and training comes from the professional side. For those that don't know, I am a firefighter EMT. I got my EMT training when I was in the Marine Corps. My unit did not have corpsmen, so they sent individuals to medical courses to serve in a medical billet or medical role. So I don't have that type of experience. All mine is professional. If you have been to courses that you would like to recommend to everybody and you had a positive experience with, leave them down in the comments below. Help share that information and those resources. I'm sure everybody would really appreciate it. So diving into this, we're going to talk about 3 types of medical training that you should get, and then we're going to talk about a few at-home ways to kind of dive into the realm of medical and really expand your skill sets without spending a ton of money. So number 1, and this is probably the most important and the most popular, and that is CPR training. Now, there were more than 350,000 pre-hospital cardiac arrests in the US in 2020. And anybody that's been to a CPR training before, and all of my EMS hospital side folks know that one of the most important steps in early cardiac arrest is quality chest compression. So as a bystander, or as a person that just happens to be there, whether you don't know the individual or whether they're a family or friends, you want to be able to take those steps to really help out that person until higher care can get there. You know, in that statistic of all of those cardiac arrests pre-hospital that occurred, around, reference, 38% of those were witnessed by a bystander. So, you know, having somebody there or yourself being there and being able to help and step up and give those quality chest compressions until higher EMS can get there can make the world of difference. You know, with those CPR classes, you learn both adult and pediatric CPR, and then you kind of get that basic understanding of how to get the higher care train rolling so you can get more help to the scene. Number 2, emergency first aid training. This goes by a couple different names, but this is a type of course that basically goes over scene and patient assessment, environmental or natural injuries or illnesses, wound care, and a bunch of other entry-level skills. You know, cities or fire EMS departments may put this type of training on for free, depending on where you're at. And then there are a lot of courses, a lot of companies or groups that will run kind of a CPR and first aid training side by side. So you really just have to explore what is available to you, what you can afford, all that kind of stuff. You know, these basic injuries happen everywhere, all the time in everyday life, whether you're hiking in the woods or up in the mountains or you're in the workplace. In 2020, again, there were 2.7 million workplace-related injuries that were non-fatal, and then there were over 4,000 that were fatal. Some of those people might have been able to save if there was somebody there at the time that could have prevented death. So figure out what works best for you. Figure out if your employer may send you to a CPR first aid related class. I know there are some companies that they like it, that looks good on their OSHA reports. They have individuals there that are trained medically, so you may look into that. I can't guarantee you that all employers are going to want to get on board with that, but some may do that. So speak up if you want to see if you can get that medical training for free. Otherwise, these courses normally don't run that expensive if you can't find a free course put on by some sort of local government entity. But it's definitely worth the while. I think one of the biggest things you get out of that is the patient assessment training, because you're not going to be able to get a lot of that experience in everyday life like your EMS or hospital care employees and, you know, those people that do that for a professional career. So getting that training, even though you may lack some of the experience, will still benefit you in the time where a need arises. Number 3, stop the bleed or TCCC classes. So this is really heavy on the trauma-related injuries. And most of this follows the March algorithm or some of the civilian equivalents of that. So Places this applies is, unfortunately, in this day and history in the United States, we see a lot of mass shootings or similar mass casualty incidents, or even just weather-related stuff, such as tornadoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, all those types of things. Trauma-related injuries do follow those types of significant events. So if you take those steps and you learn how to use all of that equipment that everybody likes to put in their IFAC, but doesn't necessarily get training for, it'll benefit you more down the line. Having gear is one thing. Knowing how to use it is another. So, as some in-home training options, you have obviously YouTube and websites. Now, you have to be careful what you're really learning off YouTube and all these different training websites. There are some things that you can learn in home, or even kind of refresh skills that you may have learned at a class, but there are some things that you do need an instructor for, and there does have to be a certain level of hands-on training with that. One thing I will plug is Prep Medic on YouTube. I've been following him for years. He does a ton of very good videos, a lot of good medical gear videos, IFAC reviews, all that kind of stuff. So definitely go give him a check. I will put a link to his YouTube page somewhere here on the screen, and you can click on it and go there. And then there are companies that make at-home medical training kits, such as like sutures and stuff like that. Those are always something fun you could do with your family and your friends to kind of get them into the thought process and interest of having medical training. But they also provide very good at-home resources if that's more into your budget, or you've gone to a couple classes and now you're looking for at-home options. Regardless of whatever type of training you get, it's important that you get quality training, but also carry quality gear. So make sure that your gear matches your level of training, or that you just carry quality medical gear in general. There are a ton of companies that make good quality gear. North American Rescue and all those types of companies, those big name brand companies, they make quality gear. It's used by professionals. It should be used by civilians as well. Trained professional civilians make for a safer and more prepared community. A lot of guys like to focus on the shooting and the fancy stuff and the tactics. They negate the medical, or they don't dive deep into the medical portion. So push your limits, never be satisfied, continue to learn, continue to seek out new opportunities. If you guys like this content, guys, please like, subscribe, comment if there's something you would have liked to have seen different. If you have suggestions to those who are looking for medical training or anything like that, if you have professional advice, leave it in the comments down below. Visit our website, guys. We've got some different workout shirts and hoodies, flags, all that kind of stuff. Again, as always, subscribe to our newsletter, because here within the next couple weeks, we're going to be dropping news on our first couple lines of medical gear that we intend to make specifically for civilians. They're not going to be neutered or anything like that, because it's going to the civilians. But I feel like that is something that is negated a lot. So keep an eye out for that. As always, guys, train hard, train often.